Last week saw the release of Sega Rally, or Sega Rally Revo outside of Europe, the long-awaited update to the classic arcade racer Sega Rally Championship.
3, 2, 1, go!
Now I was looking forward to this. It's had really good reviews and its predecessor was great, but when I fired it up for the first time, my initial reaction was one of disappointment. It's not good when the first thing you think about a game that has been hyped as graphically awesome is, wow, this should probably look a little better than it does. Admittedly, given the almost religious experience of starting up Halo 3, it's going to take some recovery time before I'll be impressed by any game intro that's less than the audio-visual equivalent of 144,000 virgins offering me foot baths, but the graphics here really are a little clunky. Let's be kind. It retains a retro arcadey feel. Anyway, enough of the visuals. How do these babies actually drive? You start off with 18 cars, all Premier and Classic Rally cars or modded out performance models, which can be fitted out for on or off-road. Now the controls are insanely sensitive. Even in the off-road Subaru Impreza, I was slipping around all over the place to start off with, and even once you start to get the hang of it, this sensitivity makes the cars feel pretty light. At first I thought, maybe I just need to man up a little bit, but the other guys at Channelflip, including Will, who pretty much taught himself how to drive on Sega Rally Championship, also found it pretty twitchy. This game is going to take a serious time investment to really master. But although its difficulty may be intimidating to beginners, it is a pretty solid game if you're prepared to put in the hours. As with its predecessor, it's about driving at speed on different surfaces, and this it does very well. There are 16 tracks over 5 different terrains, and each track itself has different surfaces incorporated, all of which offer subtle differences to the handling of the car. The big doodad for Sega Rally is the deformable track. That is, a track which gets cut up as cars drive on it, so the second lap will bear the marks of the first, and so on. This is not just visual, but translates into gameplay, as you get slightly different traction depending on how the track has been driven on previously, or in the case of Arctic terrain, if ice is exposed beneath the snow covering, although these differences are very subtle. Now if you play on the Xbox, which supports the rumble feature, the PS3 doesn't, then you'll at least be able to feel something of the difference in the track that way. There are 4 gameplay modes: Championship, Quick Race, Time Attack, and Multiplayer. Quick Race is for racing against AI opponents on individual tracks, and is great for getting to know the tracks and experimenting with matching cars to terrain. Time Attack is similar, but you're solo on the track chasing a best time. You can also download a ghost car to race against in this setting, which helps to keep the pressure on. Championship mode is the main single-player game. You compete against the AI in rallies, completing 3 different tracks over different terrains at a time. You do the 3 in the same car, with the same setup, so you really do have to learn how the different cars behave and then choose carefully to maximise your performance over all 3 tracks. As you notch up points in Championship mode, you will unlock other cars and tracks, as well as be able to progress through the difficulty levels. Now in the multiplayer game, you can either play on split screen for 2 players or on Xbox Live for up to 6. Now for most people, this is going to be a welcome relief, as the AI in the single player game is fiendish. And it's just really not that much fun playing a racing game where it's near impossible to keep up with the rest of the pack if you make so much as one mistake. Difficulty aside, I felt that there were a few smaller details that also detracted from the game. You are bounded to the track by invisible walls, and you bounce off these walls with the same force, regardless of whether the graphic is soft savanna grass or a full-on metal fence. The game claims smashable scenery, but this is really rather lame by today's standards. And while I think I'm glad that the bystanders and animals on the sides of the tracks aren't pulverised to bloody gore when you accidentally ram into them, it doesn't do much for realism. Also, while the cars get dirty, and yes, the mud graphics are awesome, they don't get damaged and you don't really crash in any exciting ways. Oh yeah, and there's a big in-game advertising engine built in. Fantastic. In conclusion, it's a must-have for hardened racers, and it is a rewarding game with a lot of depth if you're prepared to put a lot of time into learning it. But for general gamers, then I think the initial difficulty, the lack of options and the lack of eye candy are going to make this a bit of a disappointment, especially at 40 quid, or 49 quid if you go to Amazon. Don't be too downhearted though, Project Gotham 4 is coming out next week. But until then, I know that if I want to drive, I'm going to be reaching for Dirt or Burnout 5 and not Sega Rally. Sorry guys, 3 stars.